If Trap didn't have plot conveniences, you'd have to change so many variables in the premise because the premise is already so dramatically heightened that the B-movie silliness is just a natural progression of that. If there's any alternate version of this film that could have benefited from being taken literally, M. Night Shyamalan was never going to make that movie. In fact, I'd say none of his movies are meant to be taken literally. This video is also not directed at this commenter. We actually had a really constructive discussion. I just had more to say about this movie because I have a lot of close friends that actually feel this same way. As we discussed, it's all about tone, and I think M. Night Shyamalan has more tonal precision than people give him credit for. Trap is a silly movie. In fact, I'm willing to bet there's not a soul on this earth that enjoys Trap and never found it at least kind of funny. What I love about his films, though, is that they never undermine themselves by giving the audience permission to laugh. Films like Trap, Old, and The Happening are essentially aiming for a B-movie tone, but they are treated with sincerity and respect and played straight. The characters in the film are taking things seriously, but the world that the movie occupies feels just outside of our own. I think ultimately that's what it comes down to, is a movie willing to follow its own established rules, whether it be through tone or premise? And these movies do that. In fact, they establish things very early on that people don't even notice. Let's take the limousine scene in Trap, for example. Scene that a lot of people complain about. Cooper gets out of this limousine. We don't really see him get out of it. We just see before and after, and everyone's crowded around the limousine. It's like, how did he get out of there with no one noticing? But the whole movie, we've been seeing his problem solving. We've been seeing how he's able to slip out of these situations and how distracted the rest of the characters are, specifically by the presence of the pop star, whether it be at the concert, but also in the limousine. In one of those scenes that everyone complains about is just a shameless ad for M. Night's daughter's music, we are actually given these establishing shots of everyone on their phones and Cooper examining how distracted everyone is. These are tools that he's using, and they also support the social media commentary in the film. If TikTokers can go into stores and scream and nobody notices, or people can just walk into employee areas at Walmart pretending to work there and nobody notices, then maybe, just maybe, this film is saying that everyone's so distracted and these things are allowed to happen. What if this person was actually dangerous? So not only is it established throughout the entire film, it's also funny. I don't know about you, but when I saw that shot of Cooper popping up outside the limousine, I laughed. I was so entertained by his antics throughout that at that point I was like, of course, here he goes again. I call them plot conveniences and not plot holes because they're not holes. They are convenient things that happen in the movie for the main character, but they're established as the tone and the rules of the film. So if a movie is consistent and it's entertaining and it has something to say, that's all I really care about. I know this kind of film is not everyone's cup of tea, but can we stop trying to box it in as something that it's not even trying to be? People say great premise, bad execution. I say great premise for this kind of movie. If it was executed any other way, then it would be ridiculous. Trust me, you guys don't want to see the grounded, realistic, gritty version of Trap, because in real life, that Trap would have never been set.